I'm Lindsay Shipley, and I'm the founder of Lactation Link. So Lactation Link was really born out of a need that I saw. So working as a labor and delivery nurse, a young labor and delivery nurse at 22, I got to stand at the bedside at a really cool and special time for families when they were welcoming new babies into their lives. And I felt like that was such an important job, and I still do. And I was grateful to be able to be a part of that. And I was on the front lines of watching what unfolded in those early hours and days after babies were born. And I started to notice something specific with breastfeeding. I noticed that when babies were placed on mom's chest, it didn't click right away a lot of the time. And I started to notice that moms felt unsure. They lacked confidence when it came to initiating their breastfeeding journey, even when they were very eager and they had listed on the whiteboard that breastfeeding was their feeding choice. And so I started to kind of take mental notes here, and I started to also notice that it was the majority of experiences that were going this way, not just one here or there. So I kind of started to do a little bit of research. I started to ask around, okay, what is going to help parents feel more confident? And I found that the number one way for parents to have breastfeeding success was through prenatal breastfeeding education. That's what research told us. So I said, okay, moms and families need to have better prenatal education. So they need to be educated and have a foundation of knowledge before they even walk through those doors at the hospital or their place of birth. And so I started looking around for resources that I could give to my patients. And I found that there wasn't anything. I found some in-person breastfeeding classes. I attended some of those. I fell asleep in some of those. They weren't very updated or engaging or tailored to the current generation of parents. And so then I had my first experience breastfeeding my first baby. And I experienced a lot of the same stumbling blocks that most new moms and parents go through. I fell into some traps of milk supply myths, worried about things that I didn't need to worry about, wondering all the time if my milk supply was where it needed to be or if baby was getting enough. So I was kind of falling victim to some of these things. So I kind of dug my heels in, and I did a lot of research, gathered a lot of information, and was able to kind of weed through, okay, what should I pay attention to and what should I just toss aside when it comes to my own breastfeeding journey and reaching my goals. I also then got on the path to get my board certified lactation consultant credential, which takes a lot of time, I might add, and no increase in pay at the hospital. So my husband thought I was crazy, very passion-driven profession. So I got on that road to get that credential, and then I quickly had my second baby, 18 months after my first. And this time, about 8 weeks in, I had a very unexpected hurdle come up. I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was 27 at the time. I had been a previous college athlete, and I never saw that challenge coming. I really didn't, and it knocked me down to ground zero. It was a very uncertain time. It was a very scary time for me and my little family, but I will say that breastfeeding, as silly as it sounds, really helps me get through that hard time. What do I mean by that? I mean that I hated having to be separated from my newborn for so many procedures. I had surgeries right away, and it kind of made me feel, gosh, just so disappointed and bitter that I had to be away from her during this wonderful newborn phase. Tiring but wonderful, right? However, I held on to the fact that I was the only one that could provide her milk. And when we were reunited, it brought us right back together, because breastfeeding, you have to be so close in proximity. And because I had been that guinea pig with my first experience, I had gathered so much information and had kind of had that foundation of knowledge set for me. Even though I had a huge hurdle come up with my second, I was able to breastfeed her without worry. I was able to reach my goals with her, even though I had multiple surgeries and ongoing treatment. And I just felt like that was something that wasn't taken away from me, even in a very uncertain experience. That's kind of when a light bulb started to go off, okay? And I started to think, okay, if I'm experiencing hurdles and I'm a nurse, other moms have to be going through similar things. And I wanted them to be able to reach their breastfeeding goals on their terms. Not because a hurdle came up, not because they thought that their milk supply disappeared overnight, but because, they could move forward with their own knowledge and some great support. And so I thought, okay, maybe I can go help at the hospital, be a lactation consultant. And I did a few of those interviews. And then I thought, wait a second, that's really not solving the problem. I want to reach moms before they get to the hospital, so that when they come and the nurses are going to look at them and go, oh, things are going pretty well. Baby's not latching right away, but she's got a plan B, and she has a plan in place, and she has a feeling of confidence about her. So that's really when Lactation Link was born. And I held my first class in the middle of my chemotherapy treatment. Totally rational thing to do is start a business when you're in a very serious medical treatment. But I'm also a very determined person, very passionate person. And I, put up tickets for my first class, and it was 2 weeks away. And my husband looked at me and said, how are you gonna get 10 people to a class that nobody knows about? And I said, you know what? If I have to stand outside the baby boutique and hand out flyers to everyone that comes out with a bump, I'll do it, but I'll get 10 people there. And we did, and that first class was very humble, homemade signs. It was in my living room, but I know that the attendees felt the passion that I had in supporting them, in teaching them, and in helping them, feel so comfortable and confident about their journey. And so as we started doing in-person classes, we loved that, and we gathered a lot of feedback on what moms needed to know. And I opened up an Instagram page, and pretty soon somebody was asking me on Instagram, can you do an online class? I'd love to do an online class with you. So then I started doing some online classes, some live online classes, and those were wonderful. But then I got a direct message from someone in Poland that said, hey, I want to take your online classes, but it's 2 a.m. here when you're teaching them. And so that's really when Lactation Link became a business, and we started the online classes. And fast forward to today, 4 years later, and we've helped thousands of moms and parents reach their breastfeeding goals. And when you look at the classes or experience that people have today versus that very first class in my living room 4 years ago, it's drastic difference. And it's probably a better experience and more professional and put together. But one thing is the same from 4 years ago, and that's the passion and the care. And this hasn't all been just me that's done this. I have a great team of women who are also board certified lactation consultants, who are nurses and doulas that have contributed to the content and the courses, that contribute to our online support forum so that parents can come in our courses, feel the confidence, re-access the classes at any time, and also pop into the support forum and get their questions answered and feel like they have a place to turn. One thing that we've found is that once people take our courses, they absolutely love it, and they feel like it was the most valuable baby purchase that they made. We have all 5 stars on Google. We don't have anything less than that. I've never had anybody ask me for a refund. It's just a matter of making sure that moms and parents understand this is something that they need. Because a lot of times that doesn't become immediately known to them until they're in the middle of a problem. They're in the middle of an issue after baby's already arrived. They're feeling scared, they're feeling uncertain, and they're scrambling, right? And a lot of times on little sleep, maybe they're in the mommy fog after delivery that's very real. And it's very difficult to find resources, and it's hard to absorb new information or get taught a brand new skill when you're in that postpartum recovery phase. And so the number one hurdle we have is making sure that parents know that their number one thing that they can do to ensure breastfeeding success is to take a prenatal breastfeeding class, and take it from somebody that you trust. Somebody that has the credentials, has the experience, because there's a lot of chatter and there's a lot of voices out there. There's, my neighbor's experience, my sister's experience, my mom's experience. Well, how about let's create your own unique experience and have a team of experts that you can turn to, which our team, we've got 25 international board certified lactation consultants, as well as we've had midwives, OBGYNs review our courses and recommend them. So go to a trusted source, right? And get educated before you get in the thick of a problem. And I promise you, you will never look back and go, oh, I wish I hadn't have done that, you know? I also feel like a lot of times, especially in our culture and in our demographic, we get super excited about baby items and stuff, you know? And it is so fun, right? It's fun, but think about, you know, oh, I gotta get a perfect nursery setup. Your baby probably won't spend much time in a nursery until they're 6 to 12 months old. Oh, I gotta get a really expensive diaper bag, or I gotta get, you know, all these different, you know, car seat, stroller, high-tech stuff. And really, what your baby's gonna need once they get here is you to take care of them. And you're gonna wanna feel confident in doing that. And so I think that your number one purchase should be prenatal education, and that includes a prenatal breastfeeding class. And we are so happy to offer a really complete resource for that. And then once you get that done, then have so much fun with whatever budget and money you have left over with baby items and things like that. But we have a lot of fun inside our courses as well, and we love being there to support you. And I keep in contact with so many of my students from years past, and a lot of times they've had another baby and come back to us and taken the courses again as a refresher. And it's really fun to be a part of that process, because I feel like it's such an important time in families' lives, and it leaves a little imprint on their heart. Just like you always, like if you're married or if you ever get married throughout your life, you always remember your wedding day, you know, and you always remember the days that your kids were born, and you definitely remember your perinatal experience. And what that means is how you felt during pregnancy, how you felt during your labor and delivery, and how you felt during your postpartum, and breastfeeding plays a huge role in that. So I don't think that it is a specific outcome that brings peace and brings a great feeling, but it's that you were in the driver's seat and you were able to set your own goals, and you had great tools and support to reach them on your own terms. So that's really what our mission statement is about, is creating confident families and getting you to have that great feeling in your heart around this wonderful experience of having your baby.